Hello and welcome to Is There Something in This, the podcast where I, Scott Dooley, and he, Jason Chatfield, come up with our cartoons that we pitch to the New Yorker and put into our books and put onto your social feeds and what have you. Now, we recorded the last one before the election.
We did.
It has now been a week and a bit since the result. Now, Jason, you were very doom and gloom. Should the result that has happened, the result that happened.
Yeah,
and
I was.
I made a joke where you were like, I can't remember exactly, but you kind of laid out all this kind of insane stuff that would happen. Mm-hmm. And then it happened.
It happened. The worst thing that could happen happened.
When he was like, "Oh yeah, that guy from that Fox News breakfast show is going to be in charge of defense." That was when I was like, "All right, Chatfield may have been right on this one."
Am I crazy? I mean, okay. So
can we be careful? Yeah. I just want to separate myself from the sedition that's about to come, because I'm in the middle of doing a new visa to live in America, and I love this country. It's given me so much. My son is American, and I don't want to be separated from him.
Okay, we're not going to get you, I guess, I'm not going to say evicted because this isn't Survivor. We're not going to get you deported, but we're going to come close. I feel like at some point we're going to come close.
Yeah.
I remember being a bit doom and gloom about it because, and I actually said, I think a mate of mine, Anthony, said we were at the pub watching the Yankees lose, and I guess maybe I was just in a doom and gloom feeling. I said, hey, what do you reckon about the election? He goes, if you had to put money on it, because he said, oh, Kamala's got it in the bag. I was like, I don't think she's got it in the bag. That's far from true. And then he goes, who's your gut? If you had to put money, who's your gut? And I was like, honestly, if I had to put money, my gut says Trump. And he was like, you're insane. That's crazy. There's no way. And I was like, yeah, I want to believe you. I really want that to be true. But the gut just never kind of went away. And so night before, watching the results, slowly watching everything turn.
Where did you watch it?
The Stumble In.
Oh, which is where we went to watch baseball the other day.
Yeah, and then I thought, I'm going to bed. This is too depressing. And then woke up, checked it, and I was like, oh fuck, I knew it. Like, so it wasn't that I was like surprised. I was just like, I'm sad that that's it happened.
So we look at things through the prism of how we react to it as comics, and particularly through the cartoons.
Yes, yeah.
And the thing that was interesting, so I was in Miami on a family vacation.
Sure.
And
Mar-a-Lago, I believe.
I was in Mar-a-Lago. We had to share a room with Laura Loomer and Elon Musk, but
that was the bathroom full of documents.
It was, yeah. The toilet was blocked with top secret. But the thing that struck me was, so I woke up, so I've got a child that's under 9 months old, right? Good Lord. I don't know why I said under 9 months, but I could have said 8 months old.
Yeah, you could have just said 8 months, but go on.
So I just started pitching you jokes, right? I was just like, all right, here we go.
Fire,
let's go. Let's try to get the daily for today because, you know, you and I like trying to be the daily for major events because
it's nice
it becomes like it's almost it's the closest thing that we're going to get to being like the editorial in the newspaper of record.
Sure. Well,
right?
that's all that's left.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. After Lee Enterprises and Gannett just bought up all the papers, there's no more.
And the thing I was looking forward to was talking to you about our different approaches because you were, if I may say, very emotional about it.
I was a bit emotional, a bit morose, a bit grim.
Which to me, and I was quite the opposite. I was very cold about it. And to the point where, we just for the transparency, you and I haven't spoken about this before.
No, this is fresh.
When you were sending yours through, I was like, you're being a bitch. Like,
yeah.
A guy won an election, someone lost an election.
Yeah.
The reflection to me was, and this is probably a bit of a harkening back to my time on government radio in Australia, where I don't want anyone to know how I vote.
Yeah, right. Right.
You have a different approach, and it was a really
in America,
it was a really kind of clarifying moment for me to see kind of where our motivations go. Mine, I felt was like, all right, well, there's logic flaws galore for us to play with.
Of course.
And you went straight to the emotional reaction of it, which is where, when we look back at kind of the week's cartoons and things that we saw, kind of editorial cartoons in newspapers and things that friends of ours on social and things like that, that was by and large, the reaction.
Was emotional.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Which I kind of felt, I didn't think it flew in the face of comedy necessarily, but I thought it was very interesting because there's so much what he represents and what he's going to do to me is so much funnier than dwelling in the because you had one joke which was a banger,
which one?
Which was it was like I can't remember how you pitched it, but it was like New York being, people being morose and down, and the caption was Blue State. Well, and I thought it was really nice, but it spoke to that was the emotional thing, whereas mine was like cues for therapists and things like that.
You had the cue for the line for the polling booth, and then the line for therapy, which were these, and then the other one you had, which I quite like, was just everyone toasting to democracy.
You had a hell of a run. Yeah. The other one, the one that I thought was the strongest one that I pitched to you was someone saying, like, at a bar or whatever. It didn't really matter, kind of the cartoon. It was more a caption led kind of thing, which was, it's nice to see a felon get a second chance.
Yes.
Like, to me, that
was your first one, I think.
To me, I think it was. And to me, that is the humor. Like, that this has happened in and of itself is so absurd.
Yeah. This is, okay, and there's two things here. Okay, the first one is when I sent you that, like, we were texting back and forth on WhatsApp. I was walking, I was in the Upper East Side.
You're in the Upper East Side, that's right.
And I'm walking, everyone's walking to work, right? So everyone's got their coats on, it's cold, they've got scars, they're looking at their phones, they're just sullen-faced, sad. Everyone's just shuffling around. There's no surprise about, how a lot of the people walking around voted in that area. But then again, maybe there are, as we've discovered. But I noticed just a lot of people just really sad. And then I walked through Central Park, and it's the same. I'm overhearing phone conversations. I kind of drew some of them. I overheard and Eves drew some of the conversations. And a lot of them were like quite angry, incensed. Some of them were angry at the Dems. A couple of bangers I heard just in the wild were, now Biden's not the only man who's going to fucking pull out. The other one is, I think, the Dems really fucked the couch on this one, which is such a
That's a good joke.
Yeah, no, fuck the sofa on this one. But you sort of hear a lot of the, like, and then there were like, crypto bros on their phones going, oh my God, it's amazing, I'm going to buy a car. So it was a weird, that's why Blue State kind of hit me, because I was like, it feels so strange to be in a blue bubble. It's my first election voting as an American citizen. And
So why did you vote for Trump? Like, tell us.
Listen, it's just a spur of the moment thing, and I just ticked the box, and I went,
It was a bone spur of the moment thing.
Bone spur of the moment. That's great. Keep that for about a month from now.
We may be struggling for laboured puns. That's the problem with this show.
The second thing is, and this is probably more of a larger, we had this conversation, I think, in 2016, 17, 18, a few in different iterations, but a lot of people say when you're a comedian and you're a cartoonist and you're a writer, as we are, people say, look, it's horrible, but bloody good for you, though. It'll be great. It's going to be so good for you cartoonists and comedians. You're going to have so much material. And I do remember, I don't know if it was Mulaney or I can't remember who it was saying, it's like saying to an ER doctor, like, landslide, it's going to be so good for you. Like, just, it's like, yeah, we're going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of material. It's not great. It's not great.
So my take on that, and again, it's slightly different. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to like be minimizing, There's huge groups of Americans that are going to be adversely affected by this presidency.
That's the bit that's not great.
And that is the thing that, and I don't want people to, I would hate for you to think that sits well with me in any way, shape or form.
It's that when we're making jokes about it now, it's like, we're,
The separation though of that is that I feel that as, particularly in the cartooning, the daily cartooning prism, it is our charter is to reflect that, and reflect the potential idiocy and potential missteps and the kind of the craziness that is attached to that.
Yeah.
As opposed to throwing our own emotions upon it.
Right.
However, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong.
No.
However,
I think
when you were putting that, it was like, okay, maybe I've missed the point. And you hear people talk all the time about privilege. I think one of the great, not great as in it's good, but one of the larger bits of privilege that doesn't get spoken about a lot is that you can look at these things academically, that you can say, oh, abortion, right? It's bad, and these are the things it's going to be. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, and you're going to see a lot of people now. That is a bit of a cop out on my part because I don't want to get emotionally invested in the 16-year-old that dies on the table.
Yeah.
And I think it's as much a defense mechanism as it is a thing. But it was very interesting because you were like balls to the wall.
Yeah.
This is fucked. And you wear your heart on your sleeve in that respect.
I think that it's interesting because I have that ability to shut down, to sort of look at it in a clinical and intellectual way where it's just like, okay, I'm looking at it and I'm taking the 10,000-foot view from the sky. I'm thinking 3 years from now, 10 years from now, how does this look, right? What's this idea? Where does this fit, And then what you're doing is you're bringing yourself to it in as much as, well, anyone could make that observation to some degree unless you put a lateral spin on it or an interesting perspective on it. But ultimately, when you're doing cartoons and people are following your work now that you're not like syndicated to an international or national audience in newspapers where you have an editor who gives you some guardrails, what you're really doing now is bringing more of yourself to the cartoon. That has changed, I think. You look at Pat Oliphant back in the days, he definitely brought he had a lot of emotion, but he channeled it into his draftsmanship, into his ideas, into his cartoons. And I think he was quite measured. So now when you look back at Nixon cartoons of Pat Oliphant and stuff like that, you kind of see, oh boy, he was furious. There's just incendiary cartoons about Clinton, about Bush Jr., Bush Sr. Like he was ultimately a very emotional person, but he would channel it into his cartoons. But he had that balance of being able to be analytical and think, oh, what's this going to read like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? What are the Dems going to look like in 20 years? What are the Republicans going to look like in 20 years? He had that. This was why he's one of the best cartoonists that ever lived. Also an Aussie, by the way, Aussie in Australia. One of the greatest editorial cartoonists ever to live. Still around. Yeah, I think about that a lot. Still around. Nice, I have to say that because every other fucking cartoonist I know just fucking dies on me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think about that a lot because I think staying calm in the storm, like being able to have your feet about you when everything's, with the hurricane swirling around you.
And I think that was...
I was trying to take the temperature of the room.
Yeah, but I think that was also like an untapped thing. Like mine was really cold and clinical.
Sure.
And very much removed.
Yeah.
And to the point like it was the most obvious philosophical difference that you and I have ever had in terms of comedy.
For sure.
And it was something and I was like, oh, okay, that's very interesting to me.
I was also very hungover, so take that with a grain.
Should we run through the jokes that we kind of thought of
on
the day of the election? So
do you have them there?
Yeah, so mine was my ones were having spoken to you, a queue for polling.
Yep.
Next to a queue for therapy,
right?
Like
which I thought was good.
Just trying to that parallel. That's kind of these were all very top line ideas.
Yeah,
the democracy toasting. Someone saying to someone else, "I'm just going to stay inside like last time."
I'm staying inside for a year.
Like last time or something. This was one that I didn't talk to you about, but I wonder if there is a joke in there. And this is just a heads up. This is very very dark.
Sure.
Okay, which. Is saying something because I am about to tell.
Yeah.
All right. So is there something in like someone like being happy that they can save money on gas because they're going to have to drive across 3 states for medical care.
Yeah, there's something in that. I think there's a way to get
Is it a
there.
tweet, maybe?
It's
I don't know.
I mean, it could be a tweet. Some of the really sad stories that are going to come out of this are just like we have nothing but acerbism and like just like cynical, like just being dark, just showing the darkness.
Well, I've had this conversation with people. So for 2016, I went and did interviews with people that were at the Republican convention and all these kind of crazy people who, at the time, it was seen as funny because there was no chance this guy could win. It was crazy to think this thing.
Sure.
And it became a lot darker. But I remember having arguments with people, well, not arguments, but people really kind of getting stuck into me for not holding people to account as much, as opposed to me. I had this attitude of like, well, you say this stuff, we're going to put it on here, and it's up to the audience to make the decision.
Sure. Yeah.
So where do you stand on that? Like in terms of,
we've also had that discussion. I think there's 2 things. One is that again 2 things. I remember reading political cartoons when I was studying history in high school, and what I noticed was the actual articles that you would read about, say, World War II, would tell you about what was happening, and then the cartoon would tell you about what people thought about what was happening. That's a huge distinction historically, because it's like it's one thing to say that there were this and that, and then the Germans encroached on this, but then you actually see the emotions and the things of the people that were happening in the political cartoons of the time.
but that's blurred now because
That is blurred now.
because the article you're reading,
is tainted editorially, 100%. So now your sources are no longer, and that's just it. Every editorial cartoon now is kind of, in a way, you have,
Are we about to make another Walter Lippmann reference?
No, but it is tainted in some way because everyone has their own sources of information, even if they are trying to be rigorous about their information diet, and they're reading from Substack, they're reading from Washington Post, New York Times, they're reading Fox News, just double check what they're saying. They're sort of trying to get this amalgam of like, all right, what's the actual story? The truth is somewhere in there.
But it shouldn't be beholden on the audience to be an investigative journalist.
Certainly not. No, I totally agree.
In order to get to the bottom of whether or not.
But also the audience should always play a big, big role in the cartoon. And when you and I had that, there was a cartoon that we did that got a big backlash, I remember, years ago. And I remember saying, the reaction doesn't belong to you. That's one of the things about putting something into the world is no matter how careful.
Was this the gym one?
Sure. Yes. There was no matter how careful.
Let's just talk about it. So,
sure.
This was a joke that we came up with, which was the insight that we'd made was that people sit on machines at the gym and look at their phones, and it's very frustrating.
And it was only ever getting more and more prevalent.
And we made a joke. What was the?
It was 2 doors. In fact, I think it was you.
If you're watching this, it's up there now.
Put it up now. So yeah, it's 2 doors. One of them says actual exercise, and then the one on the right, door on the right, says sitting on machine looking at your phone.
So yeah, that's right.
And when we pitched it, it was a woman walking into the actual exercise room and a man walking into the sitting on your phone. And eventually,
Emma wanted to twist it, right?
Yeah, flip it and then everyone
everyone in the thing was on the phones.
Yeah, but there were a lot of women in the right so we flipped it, so it was all men in the room on the right and all women on the room on the left doing actual exercise. And there was one, to balance it out, was one guy walking in and one woman walking in, but no one really looked beyond just the first.
And it went crazy because
it went viral on both accounts.
Chrissy Teigen,
and Reese Witherspoon,
all these people kind of fought it. And then it was the cover of the calendar or whatever for 1 year.
The planner for 2022 or something.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't know if this is telling tales out of school. Emma was like, you guys are going to cop some heat.
Yeah, she did say, I'm so sorry about all the heat you're getting, because she's like, I'm seeing it. We're seeing it in the comments. It's insane. And I did get buried. I mean, my Sophie ended up getting a bunch of heat as well, which was crazy. That was another layer.
They found someone close to you?
And started bombing her. Like, just it was insane. It was an insane level.
See, this is why I don't check my comments. I'm sure there's groups of people.
Never read the comments. But yeah, so the overarching thing is the reaction doesn't belong to you. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, because some people find meaning in a cartoon that you didn't even intend, and then there's other times they find extra good, in a good way and in a bad way. Sometimes it lands exactly as you intend it to land. But the difference is, like, when you tell a joke and a joke doesn't land and you have to explain the joke, that's a shit joke. But if you put an idea out there, like in a cartoon, and people derive meaning from it that you might not have intended, that can be a fun thing about art. That can be an interesting thing about art, about painting, about music, about theatre, anything. But it can be fraught as well, because then people can misinterpret your intentions. I did want to say that there was a pretty good one you had, which was very dark. I think it might have been your first one that morning. I woke up because I was sketching on my iPad as well.
Yes,
sketching roughs.
That's right.
Sitting on the couch, sketching up roughs, and then I was sitting in the park doing it. And you said, newsreader at a desk covering the election, saying, and while the death toll from this election is holding steady, we need to remember that West Coast polls won't open for another 2 hours.
Oh yeah, that was during the.
I think, yeah, and so
because that was based on a joke that I'd had. I think I'd written it on Threads or something, which was in my time in America. It's gone from, hey, everyone get out and vote, to please don't shoot poll workers.
Yeah, that was isn't that an insane thing to have to do? But yeah, I remember we sketched that up, sent it in. We sent up pouring one out for democracy was a fun little.
Yeah, that was one you and I had. Yeah, that was funny.
But I remember I was being quite emotional. I do like we repurposed one that we had in 2020.
So this is the question. Sorry to cut you off.
No. This is a good conversation.
Is that how you approach it generally? Because for me, it is just like. Leave your emotion and beliefs at the door.
Yes.
What's happening?
Right.
And then go from there and just kind of find the thing.
Yeah.
And the idea that no one knows which way I lean politically, which way I like my sexuality, whatever it might be. That's like, to me, that means I'm doing the job well.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah.
Now,
without fear or favor.
But that is not necessarily right.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of fall into this kind of pretty this asinine kind of like libertarianism, which is 100%. Like, oh well, I can't tell the difference between kids starving and a tax cut.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
Well, they're the same thing. Like,
I think it's also that you and I we came from stand-up. So in stand-up, one of the strongest rules, if you talk to anybody who teaches stand-up writing, is take a position. Like,
audience is king.
Audience is king. Take a position, right? You have to. It doesn't matter. You're talking about Starbucks. Whatever you're talking about, do you hate it? Do you love it? It's got to be a strong emotion. But you have to take a position. You can't flip-flop. You can't be agnostic. There's nothing that interesting or funny about being agnostic about something and just sort of, hey, here's a fact. You know what I mean? Like, what a weird... I mean, maybe Dimitri Martin can do it or something. Maybe like some postmodernist, but it doesn't really
what
work.
I don't care about? Either way.
There is something funny about that kind of... But yeah, I mean, I think I told you that morning I definitely had Robert De Niro in Goodfellas in a phone box energy.
That was a great reference.
I think gives away how I voted.
Yeah, which is fine. But yeah, I just found that interesting. Listen, I think we've crapped on about this for too long. Should we do some jokes?
For sure. All right, what have you got this week?
Do you want to do some drawing?
Do some drawing, do some jokes. All right.
All right.
I'm going to draw while you're talking about them. Don't tell me the caption until I've drawn.
All right. So it's a guy in court.
Okay. What? And when you say it's a guy in court,
I mean,
what part of the process is
he is? So it's a defendant representing himself.
Oh, okay.
In court.
Okay.
And he's looking up at the judge. And I don't know if you've seen this. Is there's this growing trend of judges filming themselves and then releasing things onto social media to show kind of how even-handed they are and how they, they're real common sense judges. And it's kind of, it seems to me to be like the next generation of, do you remember like in the 90s, there were these judges like in America that went rogue? No, they kind of went rogue. There's kind of like local magistrates essentially. and they would be like, all right, well, you were caught shoplifting, Jason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sentence you to 30 hours standing on a roundabout with shoplifter, as a sandwich board or something. Anyway, it's this guy, and he's speaking to the magistrate. He's addressing the judge, and there's a jury there, kind of having a look or whatever. But it's a courtroom scene. You know very clearly what you're looking at.
We're looking at the defendant.
We're looking at the defendant. Okay. And the defendant is saying, I didn't come here to be judged.
Now.
or is it Jason? Is it I wasn't expecting to be, oh, bit judgy. Just that kind of.
Bit judgy. Bit judgy.
Do you know what I mean? Is there something in that, like, the idea of, like,
judgment-free zone?
I don't want to be judgmental, or that being judgmental is seen as this very terrible thing now.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you don't want to judge. Look, I'm not one to judge. A judge with an apple saying,
funny.
Listen, I'm not one to judge, but also the idea of a judge, like we came up with this idea of a judge, a jury, the defendants, the prosecution, all this stuff. Judge is the only one of those words that is a verb.
Yeah. You do jury duty. You don't jury. Yeah.
You don't defend it in someone. Like it's just
Yeah.
You're the judge. You're the judge.
I got to bailiff the shit out of this today.
Because it used to be like King Solomon. Like it used to be kings and things like that. Now it's just no. It's a judge. There's a bailiff.
How do you reckon King Solomon is looked upon by the evangelical Christians? Because he threatened to kill the baby.
He did threaten to kill the baby. And what's strange to me is that the way that he found out who the real mother was he said, all right, we'll cut the baby in half and give you each half a baby. And then the real mother went, oh, no, please just give it to her. I'd rather see it go to her than you kill the baby, which is, of course, that was the real mother, which means the other mother was like, yeah, no, go on. Half a baby sounds pretty good.
Listen, I was prepared to walk out with no baby. Listen, so half a baby's a win.
Half a baby. All right, I'll take it.
But then here's the thing. How is he going to cut the baby? Was it like
a baby divider? Do you not have one? Do you know? Do you not have a baby? It's like a guillotine, but it's very small. It's more like a cheese knife. It's a little baby divider. Do you know?
New from Brookstone. but how would
in
you?
Walmart next
this
to
is a real. How would a dog wear pants? How would Solomon cut a baby? Do you go? You've got the left side. You've got the right.
Do you get the legs? Yeah, that's a good point. Who gets the legs, or is it just right down the middle? That's way harder. One would imagine. Yeah, I mean, you don't want the top half, do you? That's a bit depressing. Then you don't want the bottom half.
You don't
Too
want the
much
bottom
work.
half. Yeah.
Jeez. No, here's a quandary. Which half do you take if it goes
I'd
ahead?
go the top half, but just because you can kind of hold. Like I know, I spend a lot of time holding babies.
Sure you do.
You could get like
but full ones.
You could get like a sack and just be like, look at my baby.
Baby Bjorn.
Oh my God, legs for days, and like you'd lie about it. You'd have to make, and then people would be like, you really talk about that baby's legs a lot. Can we see it? No.
You talk about that baby's legs.
What are you, weird? And then you can just go. And this is a great thing about having a kid. Is anyone that wants to ask something about, what are you, a pedo? Oh, don't worry about it, buddy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Let's not get.
And then they're like, yep.
Let's not talk about Matt Gaetz just yet. So we've got so we've got the guy.
Just for the record,
you love this country.
I love this country.
It represents and the dream.
It's given me so much. It really has. It really has. I love it. I love America.
Okay, so I think there is something there. There's something in the bit judgy. I think there's something in
bit
there.
judgy. But it's
also, I like the idea of it being a misdirect. So I didn't come here to be judged. What if there's a preface, just a short thing before that would lead you to think he's going to say something else? Something that someone was. Yeah, I was going to say, look, I didn't come here to be judged.
Look, I didn't come here to be judged.
Right.
What if it... Is that to Cisse? And is it a gymnast or a diver or
or an Olympian like Simone Biles on the just come off the thing and they're all holding up the No, but listen, I didn't come here to be judged.
Bit judgy, guys.
Bit judgy.
That's funny.
That's probably funny.
Simone saying bit
Simone
judgy.
saying, listen, guys, bit judgy.
The greatest athlete of all time.
Yeah.
And she's and the way she's become the greatest athlete.
Yeah.
Do you know that here's a fun fact about Simone Biles?
Go on. Yes.
She's legally, due to her height,
Yeah.
a dwarf.
No.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, legally.
What does that entitle her to? Is that a disability of some kind?
Well, here's
I'm
the
not,
thing.
I'm not trying to be mean. I genuinely. Like,
No. I don't think it's seen as a disability, but it is one of those things. Because we were watching the Olympics. Obviously, if you didn't watch the Olympics in America, everyone in this country was glued to Simone because it was her last thing. She had such a tough run the last time. She's just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like you just want her to win. She's just great.
Yeah.
And so we were watching it, and it is incredible how much higher she can jump than everyone. And
she's amazing.
It's just
she's
incredible. Yeah. Anyway, so I got right into this Simone Biles rabbit hole, which is how I found this out.
Right. What's the horse? It's called a horse.
The pommel horse.
Pommel horse. There you go. That's what I never realized until
But
the Olympics just how much you know about the Olympics.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Olympic guy.
Yeah.
Big Olympic guy.
Big Olympic guy.
Excuse me.
Bit judgy.
It's pretty funny.
Bit judgy guy. Yeah, there's something.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
There's something there. Bit judgy. Yeah, that's not bad. There's something.
We
there.
should do it and send it to her.
We should send it to her just to have as a.
Yeah.
Something
I got a homie at Nike. I reckon we can get it to her.
Done.
And then we're gonna find out she's sponsored by Adidas.
Oops.
Okay, so
What
here's
else you
another
got?
one. Here's another one. So this is a bit election related.
I should hope so.
I think it's like a 10-year-old kid on the playground, having a chat, and it almost looks like a.
Is he talking to?
He's talking to another kid. Yeah. Maybe there's like a swing set in the background. Like they're just on a playground, just any old, New York playground, and they're clearly having a chat, and almost like a gonna swap lunch kind of a thing, but they're just two kids talking, and and one of them is saying to the other one, "It's like I'm not even 10. How is this the second pall I've got to live through?"
Second pall.
Because everyone's been like the pall of Trump. Oh, the pall of the.
Oh, the pall.
And this idea of living through a pall twice at age 10.
Wow, now that's probably the word pall. Where were you when you came up with this one? I'm interested in this because I always wonder where the seedlings of these ideas and where the vernacular comes from.
I think
Did someone use that word?
No, I think I was maybe I was watching coverage because but the whole thing of like, oh, it's casting a pall over democracy. It's casting a pall. Like we heard P-A-L-L. Yeah, I had to look it up myself. Yeah.
Yeah, a pall.
A pall. And then that's probably where appalling comes from, right? Like it is casting a negative cloud over whatever it is you're doing.
How old is he? 9?
Well, I was going to say no. So originally it was 30. Like I'm not even 30 and this is the second pall I've lived through. But I think it's funnier at 10, right?
10. Yeah, what's a funnier word? 9, 10, anything with a K sound? I mean pre-K. How is this the first?
No, that's the problem. The date doesn't work.
Yeah, you're right. I think 9 is funny. I'm 9. How is this the first? Yeah. I'm 9 years old.
I'm 9 years old. Years old is funny, right?
I'm 9 years old.
I'm 9 years old.
How is this the second Paul?
It's like that Galifianakis joke about a 4-year-old with a beard. I don't want a beard. It hurts. My beard's hurts.
Interesting thing, Zach Galifianakis, because he's so dry, he, like in his delivery, he can't, people just laugh at things he says when he's being earnest. Like that people don't know when he's joking now. So he was at a wedding.
Oh, yeah. Do you think these things are, yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine is his cousin, and he was at a wedding, and he gave this really heartfelt, really lovely speech, and people were dying laughing because they thought he was being dry and facetious and
He's
silly.
doing, hey, it's the guy with the baby from the movie.
Yeah, they were like laughing and he's like crying. He had tears and people just it's the greatest curse is that he's the funniest man, but he can't just say anything anymore because people are like, he's so good. He's so dry. They just don't know when he's being real or not.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like the curse of the world's funniest man.
Yeah, it's the
Hey,
king.
do you have a condom? No. Get in here, buddy.
Who was the king? Was it Midas? Who everything he touched turned to gold.
Turned to
and he
gold,
Couldn't
yeah.
eat food, and that was like the best and worst thing.
King Midas in reverse, the Herman's Hermits song.
King's Midas in reverse.
King
where everything
Midas
you
in
touch
reverse.
turns
Which
to
is
shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Tony Soprano references it, which is on your T-shirt at the moment. And I've
yes,
noticed,
well,
don't think
Satriali's
the Satriali's Pork Store T-shirt,
Yes.
which is so if you're watching this on Substack or YouTube or wherever you're like, maybe it's a YouTube, TikTok cut down or whatever. You're about to learn that I only own white T-shirts.
Yeah. It's your entire wardrobe.
And
you're
there is
like a Lego man.
There is a part of it. There's a part of it like that motivates me, which is it really annoys Ronnie.
Of course it does.
I was texting with Ronnie today.
Yeah.
And because I need him to say that I'm funny so I can live in this
Sure.
country for longer.
That's fair enough. We've all tapped
all
into that
done
at
it.
some point.
He was like, all right, just email this person.
Yeah.
All right. So this is one for you, right? And I think what I was thinking was it's someone at a gallery, right?
Okay.
Like at like let's make an imaginary gallery that has the best of like the Louvre, the best of the MoMA,
It's like a big gallery. It's like
but
one of the big
all of the artworks that you're seeing on the wall, maybe they're in a corner and they can see kind of 3 or 4 artworks or whatever.
All right.
And all of the artworks are famous, like the Scream. They're kind of they're these kind of foreboding, like the image of Sisyphus. They're like these very negative.
Venus eating his son.
Yeah, there you go.
Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn.
eating his
Yes,
son.
yeah. I wouldn't mind saying Venus. Would Venus eat a son, or is
He's
more a daughter guy?
He's vegan.
Hey, can I tell you a great
There's something in that.
Can I tell you a great trans joke that I heard the other day?
No, listen. Let me just represent.
America has given me
I love
so
America.
much.
It's a great country. Everything is great.
No, this isn't transphobic. This joke.
Okay.
This is just a good joke.
You know it's good when you have to say this isn't.
I'm not transphobic, but no. Why was the trans man vegetarian?
Why?
Because he was a herbivore.
That's a dad joke. That's not a trans joke. You've been a dad for 5 minutes. I'm not going to take this shit, Scott. This podcast isn't going to suffer
banger.
from your paternal
That is a stone
bullshit
cold
dad joke.
banger.
Reflex.
That is a start to finish
He was
banger.
before. That's fucking dumb.
The best thing about it is that at no point is anyone misgendered. There's nothing bad.
I mean,
It is a pun. It is a laboured pun. And it is a pun that I love it. I love it.
I always wondered when our first transgender. That's it. It's a dad joke. It's a dad joke. Is what it
100%.
is, and it's not the last one. I dare say.
I mean, I think it'll be probably the last one about the trans community I can think of.
It's early days in the Trump administration yet. You never
Oh
know.
my God.
All right.
Well, and that's what I was talking about before. Is like that idea of like I don't want anyone to think I'm being flippant towards our homies.
That's the point.
Wherever they are.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I really do subscribe to that tweet, which is like, just be nice to my trans homies or I'm going to identify as a problem, which I thought was the most lovely. Such a great. I love that.
Like the most Jason Statham line before.
Yeah.
He hits someone in the head.
So it's someone looking at these incredibly like just depressing, like just more, just frightening kind of famous artworks and saying to a friend, I hate that I relate to this now.
Is it? That's funny. Yeah. There's someone just sort of.
And that again, so this is also back to the kind of larger conversation you and I were having is like, where I was saying you were very emotional. As opposed to, see, I see that reflecting the emotion as opposed to putting the emotion into it. Is that a reasonable distinction?
No, I think that's a reasonable distinction. Yeah, I hate that
No,
I think that's a reasonable distinction. Also, I'm just realizing they're very high up. Those are, if I drew this again, which I will, the paintings will probably be at eye line.
Well, no, the reason they're so high is because the San Antonio Spurs are playing in France. So they have to put all the things so that...
That's pretty funny, actually.
They have to move it up for the Golden State Warriors are here.
Yeah. No, it's an image. There's something in that. There's an image of a famous, like the Met or something like that, a gallery or the Louvre or something. The Louvre welcomes the Golden State Warriors. And there's, those dust things where it's like you can see on the wall, there's like a square and it's been moved.
That's really funny.
That's a really good joke. Just the banner. Welcome the Golden State Warriors. That's funny. Yeah, there's something in that. That'll be worth doing.
That's a joke.
Yeah, that's a joke.
All right, what do you got? Because
So
last time we went too long.
we did. All right, well, I'll just do three.
And we got a listener suggestion today.
We do have a listener suggestion. We have, I think, 2 listener suggestions. If you have a suggestion as well, please send it to Scott because he's the only one who reads his comments.
No, we've got an email address.
Send it to itsitpodcasts at gmail.com. OTSIT podcast at gmail.com. Or just put it in the comments of this episode. Is there something in this .substack.com? You can just put it in the episode notes. Okay, so is there something in this? By the way, we had a cartoon that we were told, we published in the New Yorker, and it was a boxing poster because tonight I'm going to go watch that stupid boxing match between Tyson and
there's a clause in it, like
that if this is how he goes out.
No, there's a contract that says Tyson can't knock him out.
Why?
That's apparently that's
what he does.
That's the clause.
That's a dumb clause. Oh, because it needs to go for a certain amount of time, I guess. That's so silly.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. But I'm a big fan of boxing. I love the old boxing posters when there was a big grudge match. One ran in the New Yorker in 2020. It was Confusion versus Delusion. It was Sleepy Joe Biden versus Donnie Bone Spurs. And
that was easily the most hated one we've done. And it was funny. It was the only.
So much.
It was the only. It was the only one that was in color. It was. It was such a departure. Like the art style was so. I really loved it because it was so wild. Yeah, it was really Mad Magazine.
Yeah, I was surprised they bought it. But it was one of those things where it wasn't even-handed. It was so anti-Trump. Every joke in there was like it was sponsored by the Russians. It was. I think the only other joke we had was like Amtrak presents like some Russian name and Amtrak.
We were really struggling for those, and I think
we were trying to be even-handed, but there was just like
And this is where my kind of approach of like everything's going to be even, kind of not that I think everything's going to be even, but is when you have someone like Trump, they're such asymmetrical candidates, no matter who he's running against.
Yeah,
that this idea of even-handedness,
right,
can only benefit him. Like he's a 34-time felon. He's been found liable for sexual abuse. And I don't know if you read the judgment. They fell just short of saying he raped Eve.
Really?
Carol, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
These are not the same people.
Right.
So I think that, while this feels like I've been kind of venting a little bit in terms of your approach versus mine, where there you kind of need that emotion, right?
Yeah, I think you kind of do. And the pushback we were getting in 2020, the reason I bring it up is just that, how we were saying, the reaction doesn't belong to you. Back in 2020, we were being told, you and I were getting emails and texts and comments and everything saying you are endangering democracy itself.
Oh, yeah.
By making fun of Joe Biden.
But some people miss the joke, like that Will Wheaton dude. Like
everyone misses the joke.
Who's Will Wheaton? Is he famous?
I don't know. Who cares? I don't know who's famous anymore. I don't because there's no more fame. It's microfame. I don't know who's famous. The most famous people on Instagram and Substack, I've never heard of them. It's crazy. I mean, it changes every 5 minutes now. They've got huge audiences, and I've never heard of them. There's Joe Rogan. He's probably the most famous person in the world now. Like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk are the two most influential. Isn't that insane? Just the guy from News Radio. You know what I mean? Like it's
the fear factor.
That's what I mean. Like fame, it doesn't even matter anymore.
All right, what do you got for me?
Okay, so I came home from, I was in Japan for a month, and I came home and I had this really silly idea. Is there something in this? I had this really funny idea, and I'll draw it up. Basically, do you have an automatic? This is a real flex because I've never had one in my life. It's my favorite feature in my whole house. It is an ice machine inside your freezer.
No,
you have one of these?
No. And I've got to say,
yeah.
You know there are markers of like things are okay, right?
Yeah.
That has always been one of mine, and I've never achieved it.
Really?
Like in my whole life, like
I've never had an ice machine.
I've
always had the ice tray.
Oh yeah, me too.
My whole
and you
life.
always break them when you've got to twist and
Correct.
Yeah. I'm poor.
So I've got the idea is that they're wheeling it's two people who've come back from a vacation. They're wheeling their suitcases. They've got a suitcase. They've got got bags. They're bedraggled. They've been in the airport. They've been in a taxi. It's they're jet lagged. They're tired. The door is here, but there's sort of a bit of a puddle coming out from behind the door, and just a bunch of ice blocks.
Right.
And she's just saying, "Did you remember to turn the ice machine off, the ice maker?" because I got home.
Is that what happened to you?
So what happened was I forgot to turn the ice maker off before I left, and the mechanism that just stops it when it's full just, I guess, broke. So
it was
I
overwhelmed.
Came home and I opened the freezer and just ice everywhere. And I thought, I'm so lucky because if that door had like opened, buckled under the pressure, and my entire apartment would just I just would have walked into bedlam, just like basically an iceberg. And I just like the absurd idea that behind this door there is clearly just an entire apartment full of ice. And the idea is that she said, do you remember to turn the ice machine off?
Look, this is pretty greeting card, but what if she just says, told you?
What, told you to turn the ice maker off?
Just told you. Like, I don't know.
I reckon
I like the idea of
coming
home. Coming home to that is
just the idea that there's like just the little blocks of ice there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you kind of need to explain it's an ice machine, otherwise it's just an insane thing to see.
Yeah, I mean it's not, and it's also like there needs to be a couple, I don't know. There's something there also, just the idea that something happened, like while you were away. Did you forget?
That's the insight. Yeah,
and when you're away, I've never been away for a month in my life, or anywhere. And so going away to Japan for a month, and then Hawaii to Mike G's wedding, and then I was in LA. Like I've never been away for that long ever. And so I had so much anxiety about the apartment, especially in New York. Anything can happen. A water main can burst, the fire, just anything. It's crazy. It's New York. That's just this anxiety I live with just anytime I leave the house. Also, maybe they come back, or the door is open and it's just an iceberg. Like it's literally just the whole apartment is one giant ice block. You can just see everything is just entombed, encased
like that.
in ice.
You know when
like
they go to
jelly?
the place in Dr. Zhivago.
Right.
Yeah.
Just entombed in ice. Like, did you remember to turn the ice maker off? I don't know. Just I think the look on his face will sell
Let's
it.
keep that as the idea of coming home to something after a trip.
Is
a really that's a really universal fear.
Right. And I wanted to plan. Sometimes I do this to you where you go away and you come back with something like a reverse caption competition where you only have the caption. And we did this once before with Truly Susan, I envy no man.
That was a good joke. Yeah.
We just kept coming up.
Yeah.
I would
you had some
encourage,
amazing images for that. Yeah.
There's something so ridiculous about
the joke.
The
joke initially started off as, I think it was a
little boy.
It was a little boy with a sundae or something.
Eating
Truly Susan, I envy no man.
Just talking to the baby the little baby
That's right.
in the
Serena
high
was
chair.
baby sister in the high chair. That's right.
But then also some of the listeners started piping them in, which I would encourage anyone watching or listening, just chuck them in. If there's
They were way better than ours. There were a couple of really great
really
ones.
funny. There's something about giving people, instead of an image to caption, give them a caption to image.
And we'll image it.
Because in New Yorker cartoons, there's word firsters and there's scribble firsters. And sometimes scribble firsters come up with some of the best jokes. I think Ed Steed, I don't know if I've never asked him, but I get the sense sometimes that he's a scribble firster because some of his cartoons, I'm like, there's no way you thought of that before you drew it. There's no way, with the exception of there are 3 types of husbands you can have. One of my favorite cartoons of all time. Look that one up, Ed Steed, 3 types of husbands. That, like, sometimes you're like, I'm sure this is the 5th or 6th or 7th caption that he wrote for this cartoon because that's the one, like, it's so good. But maybe he's just one of those rare geniuses. So I
think that's more likely with
I
Ed.
agree.
Yeah.
So I want to throw this one out. I like the idea of something more broad, perhaps, and maybe see if this. But the idea you just said, told you. Told you is such a like. There's so many things that it could imply, and the
great caption.
The image always pulls the weight on it. On the setup. So told you, especially if it's something really specific. Like I remember we did one of yours, which was like a couple of dinosaurs and the asteroid is coming down. And one of the dinosaurs is saying to the other one, who's being naive now? Diane, which is a great joke. But it just, I like the idea of just told you.
Listen, it's good. It's no herbivore, but you know what is. But
well,
that idea of like the dinosaurs with the major looks like I owe you $5. The idea that a brontosaurus called it is very funny.
Anything where there's like imminent death and I owe you $5 is a great little situation. And then the other thing I was trying to think of is like Google Storage. So every time either Google or Apple, like your photos in your phone.
They make those things.
They say, oh, you're out of photo storage, you're out of iCloud storage.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of like New York City as well, in Manhattan. You just run out of, you have to get a storage unit and you just have to keep buying extra storage. There's a correlate with phone storage. I don't know what I spend more on, phone storage or mini storage. Because Manhattan, I have a storage unit. And
it's almost like an ad for Manhattan storage, don't you think?
Maybe,
like
maybe it is, yeah. Because
you're out of storage. That pop up, it's a shame.
Everyone gets that pop up eventually, and they have to weed out their big videos or whatever. And
is it a twist? Is it like a nod to the Larson, the great joke of the it's all the students sitting in a thing, and there's one child that's got an incredibly small head. And he puts his hand up and says, "Sorry, sir, my brain's full."
That's right. I love that joke.
and
that's funny.
Is there something in that, like someone's like,
the story? Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm gonna have to get a storage unit for my brain. Just something about an iCloud storage unit.
Yeah,
something in that. I don't know if there's something in that. I wanted to plant that in your head.
What if it's a real estate agent? Saying like, well, a lot of people are putting their clothes in the cloud now, like in like a little, showing just a tiny little apartment.
Right. Okay, so is there something in this? You know those very like the old staged photos of James Cook discovering Australia, landing in Botany Bay, and it's like there's a ship and he's got his like
crossing the Delaware,
right? Like Washington
like
crossing the Delaware.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Washington crossing the Delaware, but
this
he's
is the third or fourth time we've had a go at this.
We have, because I think I just want to do a big.
I just want to see you draw it,
but also, and then to have like a silly caption, which is, but I want to see someone painting. I want to see the painter painting it and have them posing, have the people in the boat for Washington crossing the Delaware posing while he's painting it, and one of the people who are posing just goes, "Oh my God, tag me in that."
So that is is there a joke
is it? Oh my God, don't tag me in that.
So there is a joke that was going around the internet, which was, it wasn't the Mona Lisa, but it was one of those similar kind of
what was the gag?
Masters, which, oh my God, Da Vinci, do not hang that in the Great Hall. I'm serious.
Okay. So it's a don't post that.
It's a pretty similar
don't post that joke.
But is there a joke in in doing the Delaware that like the guy's literally putting the finishing touches on it in front of them, and then watching me go, I think I blinked. Can you do it again?
That's funny. I think I blinked. Can you do it again? Is it those photos where you have to?
No.
Or
It's the guy painting. And for some reason, he's painting it in the frame. Have you seen the frame for that thing, you know, with the big...
Ridiculous. Yeah. The frame is bigger than that.
Hey, you know what we should do? Let's do this.
Okay. I'm going to start drawing something while you're talking. Go on.
Yeah. Let's do like a special, like, Substack only, whatever, or you're into that stuff. Yeah, whatever it is.
Okay.
Let's go to the Met.
Okay, yeah.
And let's look lapels on and just talk about what we say. Because every time I would write a special or stand up or whatever, I would go to MoMA and I'd listen to Kid A and I'd just walk around and be like, what is it Claude Monet was trying to say here? And because I really felt that, can I just, full disclosure,
Sure.
I met up with some friends at the pub before I came here, so I'm feeling a bit philosophical.
Go on then.
I think there is something comparative between, like, the thing I love about stand-up is if you want to say something, you've got to do it in these parameters.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that is the same with art, with visual art at the time, particularly painting and sculpting, which was, I want to say something. These are the parameters I have to deal with. Right. Let's go. And then you end up with water lilies. You're like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here?
Right.
And then you find out he just had a bit of time off his meds, and here we are.
Water lilies and astigmatism, and here we are. Sure.
So what do you got there?
So I've got something. By the way, I do love that idea. I do love that that concept. I'm a big fan of that concept.
Maybe we don't need to record it. Maybe we just go and have lunch and walk around the gallery.
So I don't know. I mean, I was reading recently, and this is how out of touch I am with the nerd. And look, you're far more in touch and hip than me. I was born 40. I'm an old man, but
no one has their finger on the pulse like a 44-year-old father.
That's
true.
Go
on.
That's true. There you go.
Oh, did I mention I'm white?
So it's a couple at the tennis. And look, it's maybe tennis is a weird analogy, but sure. I know there's this huge and popular movement, this sort of polyamory movement. A lot of people, yeah, sure. A lot of couples dabbling in polyamory more so than at any other time in history. There's apps for it now. There's all these other things. I'm just reading more and more about it because I just didn't know anything about it. And to me, I've never been more, what are the kids doing these days? What are they doing? What are these young whippersnappers doing? And so it's a couple at the tennis, and an arrow, singles, doubles, and then the third one is just whatever it is the kids are doing these days.
Oh, I think just poly's the joke.
Well, poly was the initial thing, but then I thought it's funnier if they're just an old couple, just whatever it is, a kid. What are they doing? What are they calling it? Like, I know it's not swinging back in the,
all right.
The keys in the bowl,
you know
all that
what?
Stuff.
You know what? In for a penny, in for a pound.
Let's do it. Okay, let's go. Here we go.
This could be racist.
Scott just cracked his knuckles. Fucking strap in.
This. I just want you to know this could be racist.
Okay.
A black couple.
Oh, geez. Here we go. Cut the camera.
Looking at a white guy.
Okay.
Polly want to crack.
Oh, Jesus Christ! What the fuck? What are you doing? What are you doing?
All right. Do we listen?
We've got one. Look, I've got one.
Do we have listener suggestions?
Yeah.
All right. What do we get?
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Okay.
Polly want a cracker is not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. I had a guy at the pub say to me before, He was like, "Oh, I saw the thing you put. I saw your thing on your podcast. Where you're like, is this a good joke or is it shit?" And Jason was like, "Nah, it's shit." And he was like, "I thought it was all right."
Okay, so Paul Nesger, I think I'm saying that right. Paul Nesger. The name is familiar. I think
Paul may have contributed
before.
Yeah.
I think he also may have won the caption competition. Maybe I might be wrong. The New York caption contest. Anyway.
Oh, really?
Is there something in this?
Royalty.
Royalty. So when someone like that pitches you a joke, you're like, oh, okay, let's take this one. Is there something in this? By the way, remember, put your suggestions in the comments of this episode. Is there something in this? A cat leaving a therapist's office.
Paul, yes, there is.
And the cat has a bit of a spring in his step. He's looking very happy. In the background, you just see the therapist looking at his couch in dismay because it's just been torn to tatters. It's just shit everywhere. It's like fluff and like claw marks on the couch. And just,
Spring.
Spring coming out of the couch.
I like that, Paul. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I do like the idea of just like the cat, the fact that you see
the cat top catting his way down the street.
with his little like his just strutting out like really happy, and the therapist just being like, seeing the couch and it's the is it the Chez Lounge the
it's the classic the leather with the studs and all that stuff. Cat at a therapist is an interesting idea.
Cat at a therapist was interesting because you have therapy pets. You have therapy dogs and therapy cats, therapy pets. It's just service animals and things like that. But you've also got like I guess like.
But so what if this is the joke? This is what I was about to say. Is what if it's just like a cat or a dog lying on a couch going, but who's my emotional support?
I just need some emotional
I need some emotional support.
That's good.
Or is it a cat at like rehab?
Yeah. Cat rehab is something. There's a setup.
Yeah.
What's cat rehab?
I don't know. Like they're ridiculous a catnip or whatever. Like
catnip. Yeah. Oh, well then there's just like a bottomless pit of jokes we could do about AA and like rehab jokes basically.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's it. Just pipe them in. Thank you, Paul. By the way, anyone who wants
Paul.
to send
that's a good
in
joke. I mean,
I love that. It's a really funny.
No notes. That's a great joke.
Funny joke. Love it. So if you want to send yours in, be sure to send them in the comments. Just put them in the comments of this episode. We want people to comment in the bottom of the Substack. So go to our Substack. Is there something in this.substack.com? Put your suggestions in the comments.
But if you're not on Substack,
you can just go. You don't have to have a Substack. If you're not on Substack and you hate Substack,
text Jason at +1 917.
Give my fucking number out again. Or I'm just at New York Cartoons on Instagram. DM me.
Yeah, DM me on Instagram. I'll find it.
Okay, well, I think that's us for this week. I mean, it's been a big week. The cabinet is coming together.
Can I tell you how big a week it is?
Yes.
Jason and I bought a packet of cigarettes before the podcast.
That's how you know. That's how you know it's really insane. So we'll see you next week.
Peace.